We won't be pushed around. We must keep you from putting our kids in the ground, so we can't stand down. No, we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't stand down, brother. So we'll stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. 'Cause we know what's right. And we got plenty of fight. And if you think you're gonna keep pushing us around, well, you'll lose that crown. 'Cause we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've gotta stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. You know, it's pretty clear. If these lunatics think they have the right to strip us of our rights of self-defense, and if they're willing to do that, what else are they willing to do? We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. No, we won't back down. Back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've gotta stand our ground, so we won't back down. No, we won't back down. Virginians, you won't fight this fight alone.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I hope you had a great weekend and getting ready for a great week. Comment in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from. I see Michael is joining us from Southwest Virginia and Abel from Roanoke. So welcome, everybody. Philip is coming back in. He was having some technical difficulties. How's it looking there for you now, Philip? Can't hear you. So, Philip, I don't know what's going on with you, but we don't have any sound from you. John, do you want to... I asked John to join us because the other attorney that's on the VCDL board, Gilbert Ambler, posted a video earlier today about the pistol brace rule. Did you get a chance to look at that, John?
Yeah, I did. And there's some interesting sort of unintended consequences of this. And I know Gilbert covered it on his YouTube video. I also posted an article out on my website for clients of mine at johnpierceesq.com. You can also get there by going to nfatrust.org. But I have an article on there specifically about sort of the unintended consequences of this rule. And the idea that, and actually, Pat, before I launch into this, I will notice, I know Philip's having problems. Mine is saying that I am still backstage. Does that mean people can hear me?
Give us comments and let me know if that you can hear John. I'll watch the chat window. I can hear you just fine. So I think you're live.
Okay, so that's fine. I think maybe our meeting room here is having a little bit of a lag, and that's kind of the same thing that Philip is running into. But having said that, wonderful. People are saying they can hear me. So let's just kind of go back to what happened here. The rule that the ATF put in place, the easiest way to understand it, and I have articles on my site that really kind of walk you through the whole thing. And it really is an interesting read just from a procedural perspective. The easiest way to understand the rule they put in place is they basically said, we were wrong about arm braces. They always have been shoulder stocks. And we were just wrong. And everyone that put an arm brace on their firearm, either the manufacturer or if the person did it themselves, it was in fact an SBR from the beginning, an illegal SBR. But hey, your kind gentle ATF are going to be magnanimous, and we're going to give you a free registration for those illegal SBRs and make them legal without you having to pay a tax because we made a mistake. And so go ahead and apply for this and you'll get a free registration. And they made a big deal, and I've got a copy of the FAQ on my website. They made a big deal about the fact that once you get this free tax stamp, you're not stuck with leaving the arm brace on there. You can, in fact, put a vertical foregrip. You can put an actual buttstock, all of the other things that would make a pistol into an SBR. It will be a full-blown SBR, and you have all the rights that are attributed to having an approved Form 1 registration. And a lot of people have taken advantage of that. But as we started seeing the approvals come back in, all of them had a condition. Instead of just marked as approved, it was marked approved with conditions. And what those conditions said was pursuant to, and it gave the rule number. And at that time, I had written an article and I mentioned the fact that my interpretation of this is that if, in fact, you go ahead and you take full advantage of the SBR capability and put a buttstock or a vertical foregrip on it, and then the rule were to ultimately be knocked down, or in this case, an injunction be applied, since that rule is no longer in effect and the approvals are conditional upon that rule, that those items that you've now put an SBR on, thinking that you are in fact covered by an approval, those approvals are also on hold. So I'm advising people, and I know Gilbert agrees with this. He did a video earlier today where he reached out to his clients. And I'm advising people that go ahead and get the buttstocks and vertical foregrips off of your pistols. Now, you can still leave, if you still have your arm brace on there, you can certainly leave your arm brace on there because either the approval is still valid, in which case the arm brace is fine, or the approval isn't valid and the rule is in an injunction status, in which case the arm brace is just an arm brace. It isn't a buttstock. So that is fine. But if you've actually put a buttstock or a vertical foregrip on it, out of an abundance of caution, remember, as attorneys, we always have to come at it from the angle of we have to reduce risk for our clients. I would advise everyone to take the buttstock off, take the vertical foregrip off, and wait, because unlike other injunctions that we've seen come out of the Fifth Circuit in Texas, this one is a nationwide injunction that doesn't depend upon whether or not you belong to a particular class, you know, the Second Amendment Foundation members or Gun Owners of America members, etc. And so anyway, that is the thing I wanted to get out to everyone here today. And I'm going to be posting my articles in all the normal places on Reddit, etc. And I'm sure a lot of people have already seen Gilbert's video as well. Do I really think that the ATF is going to try and enforce any kind of prosecution against someone who is stuck in this situation? I don't. But again, even if it's 1 in 10,000, you don't want to be the 1 in 10,000. And so as an attorney, my advice to all my clients and to everyone listening, all the VCDL members that have, find themselves in a situation, they have one of the tax-free Form 1 approvals from the amnesty period, is to just return it back to just an arm brace configuration for now. And keep your eyes peeled, because we don't know when this will end. If you recall, Judge O'Connor, in one of his previous injunctions, had really made it very expansive, and it went up to the Supreme Court for an initial look, and they had sort of chastised him for being a little bit too expansive from a district court level. They generally want to have those kind of nationwide injunctions happen at a higher level than the district court. I think, by the way, the judge's analysis in Brito is dead on when he looks at the economic impact to the industry. I mean, the ATF's own analysis said that this was going to cost the industry over $1 billion. It was a substantial impact. And I think the analysis of why that the APA was violated by this rulemaking is really good law. And I think it has the legs to stand. But everyone needs to keep a real close eye on my website, on other websites that are writing about this. We could see something as early as tomorrow where it changes again. And it's important that you stay up to speed. And it's really unfair that people who are doing nothing other than trying to comply and exercise their fundamental rights are stuck in a situation where they have to do this level of bureaucracy. But that's where we find ourselves. So that's sort of the quick rundown that I wanted to give. Let's take a quick look over here at the chat and see if anyone asked any questions.
Well, let me ask you a couple of questions that I've heard so far, John.
Sure.
One of them is there's a rule about once a rifle, always a rifle. So if you register...
Well, hang on, let me stop you there. That's not the rule. The rule is once a rifle, always a rifle, unless you started life as a pistol.
Right.
Yes. So that second part's important.
It is. And that's what I wanted to get to, because if you registered as an SBR, would that qualify it to not be able to turn back into a pistol is one of the questions that I have gotten. And I think it depends on how it started its life.
That you're 100% right. If it started its life as an AR pistol or any other, I mean, we all tend to talk AR because of market saturation, but as long as it started its life as a pistol, then it can return to pistol configuration. If it started its life, and I'm giving the legal answer, the real question is, I'm sure everyone's asking, well, how would the ATF or other law enforcement know? And I don't know that there necessarily would be any way for it to happen, but the legal answer is, if it started its life as a receiver, and then that receiver was built into an SBR, technically that one can't go back. You'd have to, instead of returning it to a pistol configuration, you would have to, in fact, go ahead and build it out into a full-length rifle configuration.
Right. But since we're talking about AR and or AK or whatever kind of pistol that was turned into, it was deemed to be an SBR because it had a brace on it, and then you use the amnesty to register it as an SBR, then you are saying that it started its life as a pistol when you do that.
Well, but remember, don't get confused with started its life with what status it was in when I submitted the Form 1. For example, let's say that I come to your store and I buy an AR pistol. It came from Palmetto State, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It came from them as a pistol. So it started its life as a pistol. When the manufacturer reported to the ATF that it was manufactured initially, the serial number was sent to the ATF. It was sent as a pistol. That started its life as a pistol. If, however, I buy just a lower from you, I can turn that into a pistol, but that doesn't mean it started its life as a pistol. It started its life as an undifferentiated lower, which means if I ever do turn that pistol into a rifle, the rule says you can't go back. So there's a lot of minutia there that goes into this analysis.
Okay, so the other thing that Gilbert was cautioning about, and it bears mentioning here, if you have a pistol, what was a braced pistol, and something that's covered by this stay, please don't post videos on social media of you putting the brace back on and saying nanny nanny boo boo to the ATF, because should the stay be overturned, you are then saying that you have what is again essentially contraband, unless you have the waiver, the special stamp.
There is another option that you could also argue as a defense there, which is that you're covered under the Thompson contender ruling, or the path to legality analysis, meaning that you have a full-length rifle that you use the arm brace on instead, which would be perfectly legal. But yes, I think in Gilbert's video he made the comment rather brusquely of stop posting evidence on the internet, no matter what it is. And I think all of us in the legal profession would like to say that to everyone. Just stop posting evidence of anything on the internet, please. It makes our job as defense attorneys much easier.
So, Michael Dalton, you said something about please post addresses, net addresses of your state's group. Were you talking to someone in the chat, or were you asking us to do that? Because our web address is right on the bottom of the screen there. Let me scroll back and see if we have any questions. John is not able to stay with us for the whole night. So if you guys have any questions while we have a qualified attorney here with us, it would be a good time to pop them in the chat down there. John also, by the way, is the one that does our legislative tracking tool. He does a fabulous job. It is going to be live starting November 20th, which is when bills can be pre-filed. That's the first day that a bill for the 2024 session can be pre-filed. So if you click the link right now on our website, you're going to see the 2023 legislative tracker, but it will be the same link for the 2024 tracker. Correct, John?
That is correct. As soon as we start getting bills pre-filed for 2024, so that it can start pulling them in, then at that point, it will automatically switch over to 2024, and we will see them showing up immediately.
Abel Windsor has a question for you, John. If you have a medical marijuana card and a concealed, in Virginia it would be a concealed handgun, or signed a handgun permit, or signed a 4473, have you incriminated yourself there?
Well,
Is
I
that
mean, so one of the questions that you answer on the 4473 is, are you an illegal user of a controlled substance? I mean, that's not the exact verbatim on the new version of the 4473, which they've really made the language extremely dense on some of the questions there. But that's the gist of the question. And despite the fact that many states, Virginia included, have either put in place a mechanism for medical marijuana or even decriminalized personal use, ultimately, at this moment, at the federal level, marijuana is still a controlled substance. And because of that, you are considered under federal law to be an illegal user of a controlled substance. And so if you've said no to that question, even though you're not doing it illegally under Virginia law, you're doing it illegally under federal law, you could make the argument that you've incriminated yourself. Now, I don't believe that the medical marijuana database is necessarily accessible to the feds, nor do I think that, and there's HIPAA issues that come into play there. There's medical privacy laws that come into play. Nor do I think that the feds currently have any interest whatsoever in using that, except if it were to come to their attention as part of something else. So much of our bad case law regarding firearms comes from drug cases. I mean, heavy drug cases, not necessarily marijuana. So, for example, somebody is caught with 50 pounds of cocaine coming through the U.S. And as part of that, as putting the federal prosecutors are putting together a case against them, they want some, and they happen to have a firearm with them, and this other fact and that other fact. They will try their best to just stack charges so they have something to negotiate with when the prosecution is in process. And because of that, we end up with really bad case law regarding firearms, even though just your average person with no other criminal offense who might be in that situation might never come to the attention of the federal government. Again, I have to answer from a legal perspective.
all right?
Philip, we're still not hearing you. I saw your lips moving.
Technology is our friend, right? So we did have somebody, Michael was saying that we have guests that are from Connecticut and what was the other?
Missouri.
And he asked that these people post their state organization websites in the chat so that we can visit theirs. I know Connecticut was in the news not too long ago. Let's see. I'm trying to pull up a website here. Make sure I have the right link. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So post your state group's website in the chat there, so other people can visit those pages. There are there other cases there, John, that have happened recently that people need to be aware of?
Well, so on the, again, my website is johnpierceesq.com. Mm-hmm. And like I said, you can also get there by going to nfatrust.org. It just redirects to my law practice website. But at the top of my website, I have a breakdown of some of the current federal cases and what the procedural posture is. Obviously, we're all keeping a close eye on Rahimi, which is a case involving whether or not under the Bruin standard of historical analysis that a mere protective order is sufficient to strip someone of their fundamental rights. And there's some really good argument in that ruling. I think that really goes to the heart of just how powerful Bruin is in terms of protecting our rights. And so I would encourage people to keep an eye there on my website, and I will try and keep that updated as we have movement in some of these federal cases.
Wasn't there another injunction just recently? One in the courts?
There may well, I mean, there have been several, and it's really.
Sorry, trying to multitask.
No, that's okay. There have been several, and I honestly would have to look and see. This one, obviously, because it was a nationwide one, really caught attention. There have been several others, but those were limited in scope. It's disheartening, given how strong that Virginia has historically been on firearms, and the people that are active in the community here. It's always been disheartening to me as an attorney to see the Fourth Circuit be so weak generally on protecting the Second Amendment. And while I'm very proud of the Fifth Circuit down in Texas for doing all of the recent successful rulings we've seen have been either in the district courts in Texas or in the Fifth Circuit, which encompasses Texas and Louisiana. And so while I'm very happy about that, I would love to see some rulings out of our own circuit here, the Fourth Circuit, seeing them take the same strong protective stance based on Bruin. And will you guys let me know in the chat if you can still hear me? It looks like Pat has actually dropped off as well. So let's see if we're having a complete breakdown of the room or if I am the last man standing, as it were. Can anyone just post in the chat if they can hear me? Okay. So I'm getting a reply that someone can hear. Perfect. All right. So I am the last man standing here. I'm on my own, as Michael says. While we're here, while we're waiting on Pat and Philip to try and get back in to see maybe what's happening with the live chat room that we have, what other questions do any of you have? I wanted to make sure I got this arm brace ruling information out there, but what other legal type questions would you like to ask?
Sorry, guys, I lost my internet connection. I had to switch to another network. So this is not as strong a network. If I blink out, you'll know what happened.
Understood. I was, everyone had confirmed me that they could still hear me. So we were just carrying on while we waited for you and Philip to try and get back. So I'm seeing someone here. Yeah, it's a repost of a question about the current power shift in the General Assembly.
Right.
And I guess two things I'll say there. There is one Senate race where there is potentially a valid challenge regarding residency that we're hearing some news reports about. I don't know anything about the validity of that. I think it's Chesterfield, perhaps. But I don't know anything about the validity other than a number of Virginia political sites have been posting some information about it over the last couple of days. And so it'll be interesting to see if there was a flip of one seat. then we would end up in a situation where the lieutenant governor would have the deciding vote on any ties, and so we would have lost the General Assembly, but would have um, gained the Senate. I'd like to think that might happen. We'll have to see where that where that ultimately plays out. I'd also like to think that the governor will continue to be an ally of the Second Amendment and will be a bulwark of vetoes against attempts to impose unconstitutional laws. But certainly, we can expect to see the anti-gun forces come at us with everything they have. They do even in the years where they have no chance of getting it through. And certainly, if they were to set blood in the water, as it were, just like we saw a couple of years ago, we would see a flood of anti-gun bills. So we do can plan to go in there to lobby aggressively to bring the points.
The other thing, not to interrupt, John, but the other
No,
thing that we're looking at is since there is not an environment apparently conducive to getting the legislation that we want passed, there are legal remedies that we have to look at. And, we were hoping to get a more favorable balance in the General Assembly because it is a lot less expensive to overturn these things through legislation than it is through litigation. But it's 2 years with the body that we have, 2 years with the House, 4 years with the Senate, and the governor can only serve one term. So the next term as governor is a wild card at this point. So we've got to do what we can, and we will keep you posted. Philip put out a VA alert recently talking about the fact that we would be filing some lawsuits. We can't say a lot about it until they're filed, but we will be filing some lawsuits. And once they are filed, we will update you on what they are, where they are, and what the status is.
Yeah, I think it's important, at the federal level, one of the groups that's had the most success with some of their cases is the Second Amendment Foundation. And one of the reasons we as attorneys kind of talk about strategies, and one of the reasons I think they have been so successful is they're very careful about picking their battles. They're very careful about picking plaintiffs that are appropriate and have, where there's no extraneous facts. I talked earlier about how you always get bad case law when drugs or other things are involved. They've done a really good job of picking really good plaintiffs. And, we at VCDL are trying to do the same thing when we're taking on cases where we're going to litigate, making sure that these are cases that really can be narrowed down to the specific issue that we're litigating on and have the best possible chance of success so that we are being good shepherds of the legal funds that we're spending.
Yes, and being careful to set the correct precedents as well.
Yes.
Because each case that's decided kind of lends credence to one side or another of future cases that are similar. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Mr. One and Only was asking that now that the Democrats took the Senate and the House, are they going to try to push an assault weapons ban? So they introduce an assault weapons ban every single year and have for as long as I can remember. Just like we introduce a constitutional carry ban bill every single year. And most of the time, the assault weapons ban does not stand a snowball's chance. In 2020, because of the balance of power, having an anti-rights House, an anti-rights Senate, an anti-rights lieutenant governor, an anti-rights governor, and an anti-rights attorney general, the balance, the scale, they didn't just have a thumb on the scale, they stood in the scale to tip the balance of power. And so that is why when the scary gun bill was introduced, it had a really, really good chance of passing. This year, in 2024, any anti-rights bills that they introduce have a chance of getting out of both the House and the Senate. What will Youngkin do? We don't know. Hopefully, he will stand in the way of anything getting through, and there should not be enough votes to override any veto, but it's an unknown at this point. Youngkin has not had to weigh in on any firearms bills at all, and he did not give any opinion on firearms, good, bad, or indifferent, during his election. He did not run on that platform, would not run on that platform, so we don't know. The short answer is show up for lobby day and make your voices heard. That is our best chance to defeat any of the bad bills and maybe get some of the good bills through and to the governor's desk for a signature.
Looks like there's a question there about a strong push for ammunition background checks, and with the Bruin decision, would that put the brakes on something like that? I like to think that it would. Again, I think any judge that is taking the Bruin decision at its face and following the guidance of the High Court in applying the Bruin decision would have a very difficult time finding analogs to ammunition control. Again, we've seen attempts by various courts to narrow the Bruin ruling as much as possible, and you see that kind of jousting anytime you've got a major sea change, which I think that's what the Bruin decision is. And so I'd like to think that, yes, that would be something that would be ultimately overcome if it were passed. As Pat said, the best possible thing to do is prevent anti-gun legislators from being elected to begin with. But when you find yourself in a situation such as we're in now, where you might have them having extremely close numbers, we might find ourselves in a situation of having to make that argument. And I think Bruin does give us the tools we need to defend against it.
Yeah, I think so. Bruin was definitely a gift, but anything can be overturned at any time. That's the problem. And it's really important. How can I put this? One of the things that I value is my privacy and my freedom to live my life without other people telling me what to do, how I should do it, and that sort of thing. The problem comes when I don't participate enough in government. If I don't get involved in government and make my opinions heard, and kind of give up a little bit of that privacy to step up and say, hey, I'm a gun owner and I'm just a normal person and I value my rights and this is important to me. And you, as my representative, need to protect my rights. If I don't have the guts to step up and come out into the open and say these things, then it can easily be assumed that I don't really care. And I think that's a big part of the problem is that as firearms owners, we have kind of stayed private um, and not voiced our opinions enough and not gotten involved enough. And it's very easy for the other side to say, oh, the vast majority of gun owners want universal background checks, and the vast majority of gun owners want ammunition taxes, and the vast majority of gun owners want this regulation or that regulation. As long as they can have their shotgun to go hunting, they don't really care about these scary rifles or these quote unquote high capacity magazines, which we all know are actually normal capacity. But because we as gun owners value our privacy so much, along with all of our other rights, we tend to be the silent majority, and we cannot afford to be the silent majority anymore.
Agreed. And I think, Rich B in the chat made a point that it is very important that, we can't depend on a party as a whole to be the voice of gun owners. We have to be the voice of gun owners and be very vocal this year and every successive year. And so I think that was well said. So having said that, Pat, I do apologize. I do have to step out. I have to prepare for a matter tomorrow. Thank you so much for letting me have a chance to speak. And looks like Philip is making an attempt to get back in. But
Yeah.
I hate to abandon you for the last 15 minutes, but I do have to step out.
No, you're good. You're fine, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. John is probably one of the busiest people that I know. John and Gilbert both are firearms attorneys on our board of directors, and they do so much behind the scenes. Yeah. So thank you a lot, John, for coming on, and I know everybody that's watching appreciates it as well.
Well, thank you for having me on, and thanks everyone in the live stream for being members, for being active. Without the gun owners of Virginia, our rights will go away. So thank you all for all you do, and have a great night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. So while Philip gets back in, he's trying his. He rebooted his computer, but it's not working in the way that he wanted it to. But I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about the raffle that is raising money for the VCDL Academy. So the picture that you see in the middle there is one behemoth of a rifle. That's a Zastava M93 50 BMG bolt rifle, magazine fed. The suggested retail on that is $89.99.99. That is the big prize for the raffle. The other prizes that you see on the screen there, top left is the new Springfield Echelon. The top right is a Henry Golden Boy 22 caliber lever rifle, and then under that is a Smith & Wesson M&P pistol, and it does come with the pistol brace, assuming that the stay is not temporarily defeated by next Thursday. And then the other prize is a Henry AR-7 US Survivor rifle, and it comes with that gear pack that you see all those little pieces around it. So the drawing is going to be at our in-person meeting this coming Thursday, the 16th. There are only 1,500 tickets printed, but there have only been around 300 tickets sold. So the odds of winning are phenomenal. I'm going to put a website up here. Let me see. No, I created a banner. You can go to vcdl.org /academy raffle. I'll put it down here in the chat. vcdl.org academy raffle. And you can find information on there. If you get with me in the next 24 hours, I will email you information on how to buy a ticket by mail, or you can email me your phone number and I will call you and take a debit card over the phone. If you order by mail, I have to have your check in my hands by Wednesday so that I can get the ticket recorded and mailed back to you. And I'm going to put my email in the chat here. And I still don't see Philip. It looks like there's sound coming from him, but I do not see him on the screen. So the other thing is that we're getting ready for Lobby Day. There are some new web pages up. We have a new homepage on our website. I don't know if any of you have been to the website yet and checked out the new homepage. And I'm working on new sub pages. Some of those are there's a new page for volunteers, vcdl.org/volunteer. And it has a link on there if you want to set up a meeting in your area. So there's a little form you can fill out with instructions on how to set up a meeting. There's also a link if you want to volunteer to work at a gun show or an event. Gun shows are actually pretty fun to work. Typically, it is either a morning shift, 4 hours in the morning, or an afternoon shift for 4 hours. You get into the gun show for free if you volunteer to work at the booth. And a lot of times when you do go into the gun show, the other vendors that are there will give our volunteers discounts. So, if you were planning on going to the gun show anyway, give up a couple of hours of your Saturday or Sunday, go down and talk to people, other gun owners, about what VCDL does, who they are, how to get involved. We're also looking for team leaders for Lobby Day. If you've been to a Lobby Day before and you want to get a little bit more involved, you can sign up to be a team leader, and that's on the Lobby Day page. I'll put the Lobby Day page in the chat. It's vcdl.org/Lobby Day 2024, no spaces, no dashes. That has links to sign up to be a team leader. It has links for where to park. There is a form that you can fill out on there to let us know if you're interested in taking a bus. We're looking at the possibility of buses. They do cost thousands of dollars for each bus that comes. So if there's only 2 people that want to take a bus from a given area, then obviously that's not cost effective. But if we have enough interest, we will charter buses again this year. There's a link where you can meet up with other people for carpools, and there's links to maps for parking, to restaurants, lodging, lobby day dinner link, all sorts of things. So let me see, what else have we got? I'm seeing comments coming in, but bear with me, guys. My screen is not refreshing, and I'm going to just refresh the page here, so I'll probably blink out for a second. Such are the joys of rural internet. Okay. All right, there's the comments. Look at that. Yes, Abel is saying a day to remember. I'm assuming you're talking about Lobby Day and maybe even Lobby Day 2020, which was a fabulous day. It would be awesome if we had people show up like that every year. There's enough gun owners in Virginia that the numbers should be that way, but they're not. Um, I wish that more people got involved and worked aggressively to defend their rights, because freedom is just one of those things that all right, let me see if I can bring Philip in. Add the scene. There you are. Ha! I can hear you. I can. Okay.
Talked about as far as the elections or anything.
All right. So we talked a little bit about the elections and what the aftermath of that would be.
Okay.
But if you want to go ahead and go into it some, because you're far better at explaining that than I am.
Okay. Well, there's news that came out, and we don't know where it's going. I don't know if you talked about Hashmi. Did you talk about?
A little bit.
Okay. So
but you can go ahead into it.
All right. So it's possible that one of the Democrat senators could lose her seat. How that might happen, we don't know. The ideal thing would be for them simply to say, "Sorry, you're disqualified," and in which case the Republican would win because he came in second place. If she's disqualified, then the next higher person to get as far as votes go would then be the winner. And that would mean the Republicans would then have a 20-20 tie with the Democrats. And that would mean that the lieutenant governor, who is a strong pro-gun person, would have the vote to tie break. So if both parties tied, she could break it. And on gun stuff, I would expect she'll break it our way. So this could be helpful. It's still not. It's still a problem that the House is controlled by the gun controlling people in the Democrat Party. So, but this is better. It's better because we'd have another firewall between our rights and the gun controllers. They'd have one more hurdle they'd have to get over. That would be a lot harder.
The problem there was that she doesn't live in the district. Is that not correct?
Yes, and she was specifically asked on the form, "Do you have a house other than the one in your district that you?" And she said no. Well, she's had a house forever outside the district. So, and on that form, it's a felony to lie. So this could get very interesting. So plus they had people documenting that she was never at her apartment that she's got in the district. She's very rarely there. She was at her house out of the district most of the time. So I'm telling you now, if this works out the way I hope it will, I'm going to go get drunk and celebrate. I had her for a senator. She was the most useless thing. She couldn't vote right if her life depended on it. I mean, it was just terrible, and her staff was horrible. So I mean, I'm just hoping that that would be great karma to see her out of there. But
it would be.
Who knows?
Yeah,
we'll see.
Couldn't happen to a better person.
That's a nicer way of putting it, perhaps.
Yeah.
But it was frustrating. I know those in Northern Virginia be laughing at me because I understand they're in the same boat or worse,
Hmm.
having somebody useless representing them like that. But
So we did talk a little bit, Philip, about the plan moving forward with the less than favorable General Assembly, and I did say that we were looking at some lawsuits, and we couldn't say a whole lot about them until they're filed.
mhm,
But since there's not a lot of chance of legislative fixes for the next 2 years at least, then we will are looking at the legal options, which is going to cost money.
yes,
I'm
it
not going to
is.
lie. So
Mhm.
if your VCDL membership lapsed, if you're one of those people that joined in 2020 and 2019 and 2020 and then just didn't renew, please renew. It does two things. One, it helps to fund the lawsuits that we've had 3 lawsuits actively filed and still ongoing since 2020 that are still working through the system. And this is the other reason that we would rather fix things legislatively. Those lawsuits have been in the works for 3 years now,
Yeah,
and none of them have been actually gone to trial yet.
and
None.
our bump stock one is headed to the Supreme Court.
Right, right. So we
Uh,
are fighting the bump stock ban on you for you guys as well.
Yeah,
So
and again, I always pause there because for new people, it's not that we love bump stocks. It's okay, it's cool, it's a nice little thing to put on your gun if you want it. It's that's not why we sued. It wasn't love of bump stocks. It was telling the BATF you don't have the authority to pass that ban. I don't care what it is, you don't have the authority. That's what
right,
the argument is over. And if we win that, that'll help with arm braces and God knows what else they were dreaming up next
which
to take away from us.
by the way, the stay on the pistol brace rule will likely influence the bump stock case as well as the forced reset trigger case. So
Yeah, they're all kind of
you know,
interfacing with each other.
yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts to the climate right now, and it's a very exciting time actually to be involved in
Mhm.
defending our rights because there's a lot of good things happening, but there's also some bad things happening, and there will always be people that are trying to steal our rights away. So Rich B said that if you do get drunk, he's buying, and Philip, by the way, Philip does not drink. So
Not really, no.
for him to say that is pretty um, strong statement.
Well, I'm diabetic. It's hard to balance diet. I never was much for drinking. I can drink, so I could do it, but I wouldn't want to
Hmm.
make a habit of it.
So the Chainsaw Octopus is asking isn't the Chevron deference finally being challenged at the Supreme Court level in the wake of the ATF nonsense? And he's been hoping for that. She has been hoping for that for years.
Yeah.
I think Chevron was sort of touched on in Bruin, right?
Well, the Chevron, in a way, we're challenging that because again,
Hmm.
we're not giving deference to the ATF to say, well, the bureau that's in charge of this, and the courts would then normally go, well, we trust your judgment to interpret the law. This is challenging that, saying no, you didn't interpret the law right, you don't have the authority.
Right. And the
We're not giving you
EPA
deference.
case in West Virginia was a major blow to the Chevron deference
Hmm. Same thing.
posturing. Hmm.
Yeah, just because you say it's so, the Chevron deference needs to go. I mean, they need to justify every time they do this, they need to justify it without, oh, well, we're the experts on this. What do you people know? I think we're fed up with that.
Absolutely. So we did talk a little bit about the lobby day pages. For those of you that are dues paying members and are current on your dues, the next issue of the Defender will be out soon. We're proofreading it now. It should go to the printer, I would think, next week or so. So in about 2 weeks, you probably will see it in your mailbox, and it's a pretty good issue, I think. Um,
Hmm.
Mark Ching, one of our executive members, is the editor of the Defender, and he's been doing a phenomenal job. We've also been getting some of you guys writing in with articles, and there's a couple of articles from members in this issue. So, if there's something you want to share with the members, and you think it's worthy of publishing, or even just might be worthy of publishing, you can send an email with your piece to thedefender@vcdl.org. I'll put it in the chat and submit it to Mark. It may get printed.
Yeah, yeah. Mark's been doing a great job. Like I say, Pat, the work she did on our website is incredible. Boy, you talk about a lot of work. You take a look at the website. If you haven't been up there, man, it's been dramatically changed. So it looks good. We're getting ready so that we can have more information up there, have it more organized, a little easier to read, easier to find things. So lots of work went into that, and we're still ongoing. We're still adding and improving stuff.
Yep. So, if you take a peek at the website and you like what you see, or you have suggestions, or you think something needs improvement, give us a shout. Rich is saying, I know lawsuits are expensive and I realize each one is different, but what kind of price tag range would you say they cost?
Well, they go up. It depends on how you go. If you battle at a low level, $30,000, $40,000. If it ends up going to then that increases if you go up to the circuit court, and then if you go to the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court, then if you go to the federal Supreme Court. I mean, there's all these different levels. Every time you go up, the ante goes up, and that's just the way it is. It's tricky stuff. These people that go out there and think, and I've seen some really intelligent people that thought they weren't lawyers. They said, but, I'm smart, and they were smart, but they went ahead and tried to do a pro se case where they presented. We had a case of that where somebody did that with challenging the gun ban in universities, and that was a disaster. The guy was very smart, but he wasn't a lawyer. He didn't know all that you need to know to be a lawyer. I'm sorry, they have a system set up, and you have to know that stuff. Maybe it's rigged against people doing that. It doesn't matter. But he ended up doing more harm than good by stepping into that and thinking he could be a lawyer. So
Right.
we have to get professionals, and we have some damn good lawyers. We really do. I mean, I truly say that from the bottom of my heart. Having met many lawyers, we've got some of the top guys. In fact, some of those that we interface with do a lot of national ones and do them for big organizations, much bigger than us. So we've got them, but they also have to put food on the table so that while they give us a good break on prices, it's still expensive. And when you see all
is.
that they have to
Yep.
write, all they have to know, everything they have to do, that's just the way it is. But
And
it's an avenue. It's a way to get in there and strike this stuff down. If we can't get it any other way, they're not going to hold us back. We're going to come at them from different directions if we have to. We're going to do whatever it takes to get our rights restored.
Yep, and I have to give a shout out to Gun Owners of America,
Yeah.
because all of these lawsuits that we've filed since 2020, and the bump stock ban and everything, GOA has been right there, at our side, fighting right with us financially and intellectually. So, huge kudos to Gun Owners of America. Gunowners.org is their website.
U.S.
All of
Law
this.
Shield has stepped up as
Yeah,
well.
yes, absolutely. And Gilbert Ambler, the other attorney on our board of directors that put out the video that we mentioned earlier tonight, he also is a lawyer with the U.S. Law Shield. So, but he's fighting these cases in Virginia for VCDL. He filed the Winchester case, that got their parks ban overturned. So, um,
And I want to use some of that in the General Assembly to see if we can at least get some of the preemption overturned. If we can't overturn all of it, we can at least try to go after things that have been flagged as unconstitutional by judges, and say, this is just sorry, it's unconstitutional. Even the Supreme Court said that parks are not sensitive government places. They're not.
Right.
And so there's clearly the bans that we've got in the 16 localities are unconstitutional. And there's also the question of why aren't permit holders exempted? We've jumped through all the damn hoops they wanted. We did what they asked. So they should turn around and reciprocate by saying, yeah, you've done the background check, you've done all this, you've proven over and over, 750,000 people have shown day after day these are the very law-abiding, very peaceable citizens. Why are we not letting them defend themselves? Under what possible thing other than just hating guns are we not doing this? So we've got things we can do and fight, but I certainly hope that the Senate ends up, switching over that, or at least going into a tie. I just got my fingers crossed.
Yep. Bill, it'll probably be tomorrow I answer your email, and anyone else sending an email about the raffle tickets. I'm not sure I'll get to them tonight, but I'll get them in the morning if I don't get them tonight, and email you instructions on how to get raffle tickets. If you want to do it by phone, email me your phone number and the best time to reach you tomorrow. And I will call you and take a debit card over the phone. I cannot take a credit card. I can take a debit card over the phone, or you can send in a check. I can also do an e-check over the phone.
The credit card issue is not ours. That's the government. They will not let you, put your gambling on a credit card.
Yeah, you can't finance your gambling habit, is what it boils down to. So, but anyway, yeah, super duper odds, and we'll be drawing Thursday at the meeting. I'm going to try to live stream. If everything goes well, we will live stream the drawing.
Pat, did you talk at all about other locations to hold meetings?
I did not.
Okay. Well, we've got several. We had about 4 or 5 people step up. We're looking for somewhere in what I'm calling southern northern Virginia, someplace on the I-95 corridor. Right now, it takes Pat and I 2.5 hours or more to drive. It takes me at least that long, if not longer, to get up to where that meeting is. And Pat's similar. We both are driving and then meeting somewhere and then getting in one car and heading on up. It's a long, long drive. And so we want to keep an occasional meeting there, maybe every quarter. But we'd like to do at least the other part of the quarter somewhere closer to us, but also more convenient to those of you that aren't near Loudoun County. Some of you are down in Springfield or somewhere along that part of 95. It'd be better for you too. So we've had some people have stepped up. We're working, trying to figure out which way we're going to go. We have possibilities in Fredericksburg, Springfield, and there's another one up in that same general area. So we're working through it. One is a church. We have some looking at, VFWs, things like that. So we're working out the details. So hopefully we'll have something to announce on that sometime in the near future.
Yeah, and we would like to hold regular meetings also in Tidewater and maybe out towards Charlottesville, or occasional meeting down Roanoke area and that sort of thing. Being a state organization, we don't want to leave people out, but being the fact that there's only a few of us that do these meetings, and poor Philip, he puts hundreds of thousands of miles on his car just driving around to different events and place speaking engagements where he's been asked to come and talk to people. So and then traveling to the General Assembly.
Yeah, at least I'm close to that relatively. That's good. But
Yeah.
I was just out in Rocky Mount on Saturday. That was a 3-hour drive each way, speaking to the militia, Franklin County militia. They had a sort of a thing explaining people what a constitutional militia is and everything. Actually, again, I was hoping to have something on that this week as far as what these constitutional militias, because they're really just public service things that work with like the local sheriff to help out looking for lost kids or whatever kind of thing might come up. But they're so it's not all about firearms necessarily, but firearms are part of it when necessary. But the election thing just it took everything involved with that just took away the whole. That's probably the first time we haven't done an alert in a week that had the normal update where you had a lot of different items to look at. All I talked about was that one alert describing what happened in the way forward. So this week we'll have a regular alert coming out with more information on some of this stuff.
Yeah, and in the meantime, there was a special kind of alert that'll come out about monthly, I think, the bullet points. So let
Yeah,
us know what y'all thought about that. I saw some feedback on it. I'm not going to
I've got a lot of
say,
good feedback.
yeah, I don't want to influence anybody, but let us know what you think. So,
Sure. Well, they found a
Rich,
couple flaws, which
yeah,
I've noted.
hmm
Nothing
Rich is
major.
asking about Winsome Sears. Rich, if you subscribe to her emails, she sends out weekly calendars, and she's been at a lot of different speaking engagements and stuff. I think just she's not getting the press coverage
Yeah,
because,
she's she doesn't think right as far as the press is
right,
concerned.
right.
So,
Well, there's
well.
that, and there's other stuff going on. So,
Yeah.
when she was running for office and she was campaigning with one of those scary rifles in her hands, that was big
Mm-hmm.
news. But she hasn't
Because
done anything
they
like
thought
that
that would
lately.
cost her the election, and it didn't at
Right,
all.
right.
A lot of people respected her for that, and the fact that she doesn't back down from that. Not going, oh
Mhm.
well, she's standing firm.
Right.
So um, we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting year. But whatever it is, we got to fight. It's a battle. We got to fight. General Assembly. We have no choice, like it or not. We got to fight it. We cannot just ignore it. We've got to be there, and we've got to make sure we don't let any gun control through. So
Yeah, it's even more important when there's not a sympathetic legislature that we show
yeah,
up and we continue showing up in force. So lobby day is huge, hugely important. Don't say, well, it's not going to do any good, so I'm not going to go.
yeah,
That is what doesn't do any good. And if you say, well, if I can't carry my gun, I'm not going to go, that is exactly what they wanted when they passed that
right.
law.
And by the
So,
way, we're going to have a trailer there again for people that want to check their guns while they go in and then come out and get them. That setup's going to be there again too. Yeah, this is tough. The election kind of gave us some lemons, and we're going to have to try to make lemonade out of it. But we got to be there. I mean, if you don't, how will we ever get it overturned? We won't. They'll have that a
absolutely.
permanent. And by the way, I'll point this out. Well, I I, I really am not a good friend with the other side because I just don't understand their thinking. Other than the few of them that have had a real tragedy, but those people that just want to sweep away our rights just because they don't like guns for whatever reason they might want. Even that said, when the Republicans and we were a driving force down there, when the Republicans had control of all three, they had the trifecta for quite a few years. The other side showed up. They kept showing up. They never went away and said, "Well, we give up." And we've got to be the same way. We got to be exactly like that now that the shoe is on the other foot. We've got to
Right.
be there and never give up. Let them know we're always watching. We're always fighting, even if it's an uphill battle. When the going gets tough, the tough get going, and we're going to have to show them we've got more metal than they do, and we're going to win this. The Constitution, our right, the rights, the God-given rights we're given, all of that's on our side. So help us fight this battle. We need to be there. We need to be there in numbers. And especially
Right.
when I put out an alert and I say, click the link, send the email to your delegate or senator. I don't care if your delegate or senator, who they are, whether they're horrible or wonderful. If everybody does it, the sheer volume of that coming in does have an effect. And some things you don't see up front. There are things that have happened in the background that people don't know about. That there were disasters that could have happened that never happened, but you don't
Right.
know about it. And a lot of
Right.
those things were influenced by these turnouts, by these phone calls that caused things to happen quietly in the background. So you have to keep that in mind too. There have been a few occasions where I couldn't share something I knew. I have a few occasions I couldn't even share it with the board. It was that privileged and that important of information. So this stuff goes on. The battle's there. There's things you can see. There's things you can't see. But we need to see you there. That's because you're the power. You're the power. If you guys weren't out there, it would just be me standing up there representing me. That's very different than me standing up representing 50,000 people on VA Alert and almost 12,000 paying members.
Right.
But
And then
we need a lot more than that.
after lobby day, it's not over.
Oh yeah.
So one of the good things that came out of the COVID shutdowns is that these committee meetings where we testify for or against bills are now virtual. And you can testify for or against a bill virtually. It's better if you're there in person, but for people that live in Northern Virginia or Tidewater or Southwest Virginia and can't get to Richmond on a dime to testify in a meeting, there is an option. You can sign up and take a few minutes or an hour out of your day. I monitor at work sometimes, and when it's my turn to speak, I just say, "Hold that thought for a moment" to my customers, and I hit the button and unmute and say my piece, and then I mute again, and I've got my little Bluetooth on, and I can hear what's going on. I call it the voices in my head, and
The devil's in
and
your head.
yeah, and it's torture. I'm not gonna lie. Sitting in those committee meetings is normally torture, but it's a necessary evil. So,
No,
um,
I'd rather be that tortured than have to
right,
go with what our founding fathers and be dodging bullets and everything else. This is not that big of a deal compared
and
to what they went
right,
through.
our new website, new web pages have links where you can connect with a lot of this stuff. And the legislative tracker that I was talking about earlier, that has links to all of the committee meetings. And you click on the link to the committee meeting when it's scheduled, and Philip will send out an alert and say, "There's a meeting on such and such a day at such and such a time," and he'll send you the link. And you click on the link and you sign up to testify virtually. Even if you don't get a chance to testify, they sit there and they say there's 20 people in the queue to speak for and 5 people in the queue to speak against. We can't afford to have 20 people in the queue speaking for or against a bill that we from the other side
Mhm.
without having as good or better numbers from our side.
We should always
So,
have better numbers on their side. They've got
absolutely.
AstroTurf. We've got real grassroots, but sometimes our grassroots are sleeping. So if the grassroots get up and work, we should drown them out, and we should do that consistently every time. If we're outnumbered, that's not good. It just isn't. It should never happen. Should never happen.
So, DLD After Dark is asking, would you be open to coming on to the John Crump Show live to discuss the state of the Second Amendment? We all live in
Absolutely.
VA and support VCDL, and all of us have platforms on YouTube and other places.
You know what? I'm willing to. I like John Crump. I like him a lot. Yeah, I'd have no problem at all. Anytime he wants me on his show, he just has to ask. But absolutely, I'll speak anywhere that I can be heard to make sure that all of our beliefs are put out on the table. Again, that's what I did Saturday. I don't usually speak a lot at militia things, but wherever it's necessary, I'll be happy to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and by the same token, he's welcome to come on one of our Sunday,
That's
once a
absolutely.
month.
You
Yeah.
bet. Absolutely, he is.
Yeah. So, and when we went to the gun rights policy conference, I asked a lot of people little 3 question, um, just, man on the street kind of interview. And I've been posting those on our social media. So there's more to come. So check out those little posts. And a lot of those people that I interviewed will be coming on our Sunday night lives. So stay tuned for future.
Yeah, we're trying to find some people like that to come on, and just some other different types to come to our live meetings as well. So we'll see what
Yes.
happens with getting another location. I will tell everybody I haven't announced it yet, just because it's a little ways out. But for those in Central Virginia, I have already booked a meeting, a VCDL membership meeting in Chesterfield County. And let me see. On the 20th of December. Believe it or not, that was the earliest I could get in. But that's also just not too much before lobby day. So it's a good time before the general session. So that'll be on December 20th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Chesterfield Library on North Courthouse Road. That's that newer one. We've had meetings there before. It's a beautiful facility. It's got a large meeting room, and that's booked. So the formal announcement will come out later. But if you're in Central Virginia, put that on your calendars and plan
You,
on driving to Chesterfield.
you made Bill Osby's weekend. That was easy.
Well, we got a lot of members in Central Virginia. I'm hoping we'll get them out. But yeah,
Yeah.
good stuff.
And I was at my range last Thursday, this past Thursday, and Ravenna Rifle and Pistol Club. Give a shout out to them. They're big VCDL
Oh yeah,
supporters out there too. We've held
and
meetings there in the past, and I was talking to the club president, Philip. He wants you to come out and just address the general membership um, at one of their meetings, and he also wants to hold a VCDL meeting out there.
perfect,
So,
perfect. That'll
yeah,
cover Charlottesville. Just have them give me a date, and I'll check my calendar. But yeah, I'd love to go out there.
yeah, great club.
Oh yeah,
And
nice
he
people.
he just bought a Wi-Fi controlled smoker, so he said he can smoke some pork or something for you. And yeah, when we have the meetings out there, we usually had a potluck dinner beforehand, and then had a nice meeting. We've had some great meetings out there. They have a wonderful facility. If you've never been there, they have a nice clubhouse, indoor shooting
Yeah,
range. They
nice.
they have skeet trap, wobble trap, 100-yard range, a 300 yards range, plinking range. A bunch of outdoor pistol ranges. They run monthly IDPA matches. I think they run cowboy action matches. They
What time?
have shotgun matches.
What time do they cut off the indoor shooting range at night?
I would have to look at the rules, but
It's late, isn't it? Like 11
it
o'clock or?
is, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
thinking you could actually get a gun for Christmas
Hmm.
and get it at night and still make it out to the range and try your gun out. There's no place else that's going to be open on Christmas night,
Right,
you know.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a very nice club. Yeah, very good.
yeah.
I went shooting today myself. I try to go every weekend, so I spent all day shooting at 50 yards with my carry guns, shooting at steel.
Hmm.
If you never tried that, try that. Those of you out there, if you've got your little carry gun, your SIGs or your Glocks or whatever, set up some steel at 50 yards and practice shooting at that distance. And if your gun's sighted in right, you should be able to ring that steel. I ring it about 4 out of 5 shots. So it's sighted in if you could do that. So that's how I spent my afternoon today. All right. Do you have anything else, Pat?
Um, just answering, Rich B was asking where the range was, and I said it's in Charlottesville. You take exit 120 on I-64 and head south and go 4 miles. So, great range. Yes, it is a membership. It's pretty easy to join. You have to attend 2 membership meetings, an orientation class, and do 4 hours of work duty at the range. So the dues are pretty inexpensive. I think it's like $100 for the year for a private membership. And the reason that they're inexpensive like that is because everybody pitches in and does the maintenance on the range. So they have work parties where you go and trim trees back or maintain the roads or different things like that. So it keeps the dues low and keeps the range nice. So
Yeah.
great place, very involved. They do a lot of community service. They work with UVA, by the way. The UVA rifle team, University of Virginia rifle team, goes to the Ravenna Rifle and Pistol Club. They have youth groups, they have women's groups, they have shotgun groups, they have archery groups, they have just about every discipline. And
That's where
then,
I trained to become an
right.
NRA instructor. I went to Ravenna to
Yes.
get the
Yeah,
training.
they do instructor certification courses out there. They do regular NRA classes like safety, handgun safety and sort of those sort of things. Um, they also have people that are members of the club that volunteer to coach other people in whatever discipline. They have people that coach in bullseye shooting, people that coach in shotgun. So you can go out there, if you're a member, you go out there and get free lessons on how to do stuff. So uh, really great community spirit. Any outdoor ranges close to Chesterfield is what Rich is asking.
Where I go, I live in Chesterfield, but the one I go to, and I like it. I like it a lot. Is the Airfield Shooting Club? It's in Wakefield though, so it's gonna for me. It's about an hour and 15-minute drive, but it's a nice range. You can, the first person there is the RSO. You hand the badge off when you leave. If everybody agrees, you can move the line forward and shoot. You can draw from the holster in cases like that. You can do a variety of things. You can shoot steel. Now they want the steel out over the berm. I personally shoot at the 50-yard with steel, like I was saying earlier. I've got a really nice setup that I won some years ago. But they have a 100-yard range, a 50-yard range, a 25-yard, and a short range berm, which is 15-yard for handguns. Very nice. I mean, but it's all outdoor. They also have skeet and trap and some other things. I really don't do much with any of that. I've shot some of that years ago, but I'm a handgun guy primarily and rifle guy second. But they've got all that. So that's one I go to. There might be some other ones, but you might look into that. It's the Airfield Rifle. I'm sorry, the Airfield Shooting Club off of Turkey Pen Road in Sussex County, and it's really in the Wakefield area. If you don't have any, if you need some more help on that, just send me an email, president@vcdl.org.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions? I'm not seeing a whole lot. So, on the new web pages, there's a lot of new pages for Lobby Day, and our legislative agenda is up on the website and so forth. I haven't put it up in the menu bars yet, so that's my project for this week, is to get all the pages linked properly. But Philip will probably be sending out some of those links in emails not too far away for Lobby Day. because we're gearing up for that. So mark your calendars for
Yeah,
January 15th, right?
that's right. And now that the elections are over, in a few days, I'll be starting to look for patrons to start carrying our bills.
Right.
So, I'll start working on that.
Yep, and I'll be reaching out to a restaurant for the pre-lobby day dinner on the 14th.
That's always a lot of fun. A lot of people
It
showing
is.
up there, a wide variety of food, so it works out well. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
and
These meetings are so damn much fun because everybody is so nice. Everybody knows so knowledgeable. We all have a good time. No matter who you sit by, you have a great conversation. If you've never attended these things, you're really missing out.
absolutely. Yep. Oh, lobby day. The General Assembly is back in the new building, and
Yes.
the
Oh,
the
yes.
old the old building, but newly remodeled. They're back in their building up
Yeah.
at Broad Street.
Yeah, this should
So
be nice. This should be a very nice building compared to that Pocahontas building. I hated every second of that building. I'm looking forward to at least being in the new building. I think this would be very nice. We'll have plenty of room. We won't be cramped like we were before. They'll have bigger meeting rooms, hopefully. So,
yes, and all the meeting rooms are wired, so all of the committee meetings can be streamed. Was the scuttlebutt that I heard last session. So they were saying they were excited about getting into the new buildings because all of the meetings could be streamed.
yeah,
Um, the other thing is, somebody had said that getting around at lobby day because of their disability was a real challenge. The new building should be um,
up to
access,
code.
yeah, handicap friendly. So,
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because we have
mhm.
people it's hard walking. All right, well, I think that's it. But the fight goes on, guys.
It does. It
The
does.
tougher the
So,
tougher going to get going.
yeah, do us a favor and tweak those algorithms. Hit the like button and the share button and the subscribe button and all of that good stuff. I always forget to say that. So,
Yeah, I do too.
um,
Yeah, we need to get this out to as many Virginians as we can.
yep.
I guarantee you would not believe how many people have never heard of us. They have gun owners, no idea we exist. None. How is that possible? I don't know, but I guarantee I run into it all the time, and my jaw always drops open that they've never heard of us. With everything in the press and everything we've done, that huge rally, and people still haven't heard of us. So yeah, please share it and all that. Let's try to get people to know who we are and what we're doing, and get in the fight with us.
Yep. Rich, yes, they will be forming groups. They'll be in between the fountain and the General Assembly building in the courtyard where we used to meet up. Before they moved everything down to the Pocahontas building. That's where you'll pick up a team lead. Um, Go to vcdl.org/lobby day 2024. No slashes, no dashes, no underscores. And I've updated that with some of the details, and I'll update it more as we get closer to the event. So, and if you're a member, you'll get details coming in the upcoming Defender as well. So, watch for that in your mail. Should be about 2 weeks. All right, guys. It's getting late. I'm getting
Yep.
tired,
Yep.
and you guys are probably getting tired of listening to us. So, um, we're going to sign off. Thank you all for joining in. Share this with your friends and click those buttons for us. Have a good night.
Good night.